Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football, and this is Week 16's NFL Wrap-Up Show, along with Joey Clinkscales, Brian LeBel, myself. I'm Harper LeBel. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Exciting week of football, playoff ramifications everywhere, and we're going to talk about it. We talked about some of the games last week. We're going to talk about them in detail here tonight as we look at Week 16, as it is just about ready to wrap up. San Francisco and Indianapolis are playing in the Monday night game, and Joey, you said earlier, you kind of teased a little bit. You said the early portion of the schedule really favored Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. And then you said the second half really didn't, and they're struggling like crazy, but they're fighting like big dogs. San Francisco just scored again. It's now 41-27. There's only 7.5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. But Indianapolis, you may be right. The Colts may not win another game the rest of the season. It's just they're a little bit slower. Their offensive line isn't allowing the push that you had earlier in the season. They're not getting the passing game going, and the defense giving up 41 points tonight here with a few minutes left to go in the fourth. There's a few things that are going wrong. They've got to win this game, though, to stay in the playoff race.
Well, we know how that's going to turn out at this point. Okay. But to be quite honest with you, their schedule was a little light in the beginning, and they started off 8-2. They were playing really well.
Yeah.
The quarterback got hurt, but they made the trade for the corner who from the Jets, and he has been hurt, and I don't expect him back for the remainder of the season. So it's tough sledding for the Colts. And actually, if I'm being completely honest, Rivers has actually played surprisingly well. I mean, if we were ranking the top 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion, he'd be anywhere between 21 and 26 or 27. I mean, he has not played well. I mean, he has limitations, obviously, especially with the deep ball and obviously being efficient to scramble and move in the pocket.
But, yeah, what I'm surprised is here's a 32-year-old guy. You may have mentioned this before. I'm sorry, Joey. Please forgive me. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Joey,
and just the fact that the deficiencies are what they're playing on. They in this game so far they've stopped the run and tried to make him they've played zone and going to force him over the top and hoping the rush can get there.
Well, he's got 235 yards thus far in the game, and Brian. Before we went on the air, we said, you know what, for a guy that hasn't been playing for almost 5 years and then comes out 2 weeks into this thing and he looks decent, or at least he's making good throws. But he doesn't have anything to do with them giving up 41 points so far tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers look decent, right? It looks like numbers from 5 years ago. He's been good enough to help him win the game. I mean, he's getting no help on the defensive side, but the Niners are kind of rolling. They're clicking at the right time. They're finding their stride. They have obviously, not just playoff ambitions, but they're trying to go further. And they're kind of in a position right now where they're overshadowed kind of by the Rams and the Seahawks to where, hey, we don't have high expectations. We've had some injuries. A lot of people counted this out. I remember when Fred Warner went down. I can't remember which week it was, but I think it was over 2 months ago when he gets hurt pretty badly against Tampa Bay. And we kind of wrote this team off, right? Brock Purdy wasn't healthy. How long can Christian McCaffrey sustain what he's doing? And then you lose your anchor on defense. But these guys are rolling. They're playing good football. And give credit to Phillip Rivers and this Colts team. They're just, they're doing everything they can to try to stay in it. But, they're fading fast as far as the race is concerned, at least in the AFC South and the AFC playoff picture.
Well, with the Rams loss, and we'll get to that in just a second, San Francisco actually leapfrogged into second place. They have a tiebreaker win over the Rams with a couple games left to go. And Joey, what a great place for the 49ers to be. As Brian said, a lot of folks were counting them out. Didn't think they had much of a chance to sustain anything, excuse me, as an organization. And now here they are. They're 10-4. They're up 41-27. They'll be 11-4 here at the end of the evening. And just a game out of winning the division. Who'd have thunk it, right? Everyone except Kyle Shanahan and the rest of the 49er offense. The whole team, actually. It's a surprise. It was a welcome surprise if you're a 49er fan.
Right. I think you have to give Kyle Shanahan and that whole staff a boatload of credit because with the injuries they have sustained throughout the season, to be where they are has been nothing short of a miracle. I mean, you could arguably say he has done the best coaching job of anybody this season because of the injuries they sustained, the number of guys that are out. So I have to give them credit. The next couple of weeks will be really, really interesting for them because they still play the They don't play the Rams, but they play the Seahawks again, so that'll be interesting. I think the Rams have a slightly easier schedule of the last two, and the other two teams, at least, they play each other at least once and have another game. So it'll be interesting how this plays out, but you have 3 of the 4 teams in this division who will certainly be in the playoffs and be tough outs for sure.
Yep, they locked it up. Everybody except the Arizona Cardinals will be in from the NFC West, and 49ers, Seahawks, and Rams have already clinched playoff spots. It's just who's going to win the division, and we're in the wild card seeding. Brian, I know at week 7 or 8, I'm thinking Colts and their coaching staff. The coach of the year is definitely there. I have to rescind that. And Joey made a great point. Is Kyle Shanahan one of those guys that you would think he's going to get some votes?
It's going to be tough this year because there's a lot of really good teams. There's a lot of guys that are going to get praise. I know a lot of people like what Harbaugh's doing. A lot of people like what Vrabel's doing. You got to look at what Cohen's doing in Jacksonville. It's a tough vote this year because honestly, you could absolutely make a case for probably a quarter of the league as far as the coaching staff's done. I mean, look at what the Bears are doing right now, right? I mean, it's just Ben Johnson's show up there right now, and they're in first place. They got a chance to steal the number 1 seed in the NFC. So I'm grateful I don't have to vote on that this year, obviously, because it's just you're going to leave some guys off the list, and you're going to have to vote one of those guys that realistically could go to anybody. But I mean, Shanahan, though, I think what hurts him is he's done this so many times, right? And it's just been plug and play with the 49ers since he's been there. They have injuries left to right. I don't know if there's something with the practice field or some weird voodoo they got going over there in San Francisco, because they're always banged up, and they're pulling guys off the street, and they're finding ways to win games. It really is remarkable, but you could argue he does that every year.
Yeah, he's been amazing at making lemonade out of lemons when it comes to roster spots and key players, really high cap guys that aren't able to finish the season because of injury, and they're still relevant. And not always, but they certainly have been. Now you just got to win a couple playoff games. All right, let's look at some of the action that took place this last week. 11-3 Rams, 11-3 Seahawks. Rams head up to Seattle. What a great game. Joy, I'll start with you. It's 13-7 at the half. It goes to overtime. 38-37 is the final. 2-point conversion. A lot of controversy about that, but heck of a ball game to watch. And you got to watch all 60 minutes and a little bit overtime in order to be able to enjoy and really thoroughly appreciate how good these two teams are and how tough they fought against one another.
Well, the Rams won at their place, and in Seattle, we knew it was going to be a tough game, a very physical game. I had no idea it was going to be a shootout like it was. So that was the surprising part about this. And give credit to Sam Darnold. I mean, he had 2 interceptions in the first half. He was looking like the old Sam Darnold, the one that everybody piles on to say he can't win the big game. And he woke up the second half. I mean, he played extremely well. He stood in the pocket. He threw strikes when he needed to throw strikes. And then in overtime, that right before overtime, the drive, and then in overtime to get the ball back behind and the things he did, and the fact that the coach went for 2 because he knew a tie in the game would have left them behind. But so he went for 2. What a gutsy call. What a great play. I have to give the Seahawks a lot of praise here. That 12th man up there was a real factor. Yep. But on the flip side of that, I mean, the Rams defense is what bothered me a little bit in the second half, especially. It looked like they took their foot off the gas. Matt Stafford is, in my opinion, the MVP of the league. And I don't know if it's even close. I mean, he threw for 3 touchdowns and 457 yards. I mean, it was amazing. And they were able to run the ball. And guess what? The Seahawks ran the ball fairly well themselves. So it was a pretty entertaining game. Again, a lot more points scored than I thought would be scored given the level of defense that both of these teams play. But this was a defense optional game because the offenses came out to play.
Yeah, but depending on the category that you look at defensively, Brian, both these defenses are in the top 10 in the league and in some cases top 5. But guess what? The offenses were the ones that shined. And kudos to the Rams.
The special teams play. I'm sorry. The special teams play was a key factor. That punt return, it almost changed the whole momentum of the game.
It certainly does. Yeah, I've been on a few of those on the wrong end of them too. You go to cover a kick and this guy ends up scoring in their building. It is a game changer, certainly, in 38-37. Brian, your thoughts here on this one?
Well, the whole aspect of having that dynamic, having the punt returns, that's why they went out and they traded for Rashid Shaheed when New Orleans was sellers at the deadline. But, we were kind of critical of the Seahawks not being able to run the football, but Kenneth Walker had a great game. He was a phenomenal change of pace. They didn't run as many plays as the Rams, but they had, they were good explosive wise, right? Puka Nacua was all over the field. Give credit to him. He's making a case to be the best receiver in the game. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think, is right behind him. He had a really good second half, not a great first half, but I think Sam Darnold had 4 turnovers in the first one, so he cut it in half in this one, and it was enough to win the game. This Seahawks defense is, there wasn't a lot of, dominance in this one that we've seen from them this season, but they did enough when they needed to. And the Rams, the biggest play of the game was obviously the 2-point conversion that clinched it in overtime. And like Joey said, it's a gutsy call to go for it. But I like it. You're in your building, you got a chance to take hold of the division. I think you go for it, right? I think you have all the momentum. You get the crowd behind you. Obviously, it pans out. Hindsight is 2020. If it hadn't worked out, maybe we're singing a different tune right now. But I think Matthew Stafford, despite the loss, made his case for MVP. Like Joey mentioned as well, you never want to trot him out there and throw the ball 49 times, but they needed him. They couldn't run the ball as effectively as they had in the weeks prior, and I think that kind of changed up the game plan. Puka Nacua was maybe the best player in the league this week. He was spectacular. He did everything he could to win this game. But I think both of these teams, realistically, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these two teams isn't representing the NFC in the Super Bowl, because these two teams are good top to bottom, offense, defense, special teams. I think they're well coached. I think I'm a little more nervous with the Seahawks just because I think Sam Darnold leads the league in turnovers. I think if he can get that cleaned up, if he plays a clean football game, they blow people out. And down the stretch, I need him to do that if this team is going to be serious and if making a push for February.
I'll ask you each the same question. If they play in the NFC Championship, does it depend on who hosts that will win this game? If the Rams host at SoFi or Seattle hosts up in Seattle? Brian, I'll start with you. Does that make a big difference, obviously? Do you think that the home team will have the distinct advantage?
I think more so for Seattle. I mean, to the Rams' credit, they still play well at home, but SoFi hasn't exactly been home field advantage. I mean, you can ask 49ers fans about that. It's basically an extra home game when they're playing there each and every year. So, I mean, obviously you want to host your place. You want to cut down on the travel and it'd be a lot easier, but Seattle's a tough place to go play, especially in the cold, potentially in the rain. I think more so for Seattle, yes. I think the home field advantage does matter.
How about you, Joey? Is this the big thing, or is it not going to be a big deal at all?
Well, the fact that they've played each other twice already, I'm not sure it's going to be a huge determining factor. And I think, again, I agree with what Brian said about the Seattle fans. However, had the Rams made that really makeable field goal, this game probably would have never made it into overtime, and the Rams would have won. Yeah. So knowing that, I would probably still give a slight advantage to the Rams, assuming that every game is different. But I'm assuming that some of the big plays, the punt return that happened in the first game, the second game wouldn't happen in the third game. So it'd be interesting. But they're so close together. I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle were able to win at home.
Yeah, and the Rams have last year's loss in Philadelphia. They were blown out in the first half. They come back, they fight. They got a chance. Or a one-score game late in the ball game in the snow. Who knows what's going to happen? But experience definitely has something to do with it. And I think the Rams, in losing this game, no worse for wear. I really do. I think they're gonna bounce back just fine. Okay, that was the Thursday night game, and obviously the beginning of the week. 11-4 Rams. 12-3 now Seattle. The NFC West is in Seattle's hands right now, at least for the moment. 49ers are ahead 47-27 now with about 3.5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter in Indianapolis. So they have a comfortable lead, 20 points. Looks like they're going to win their 11th game. And so they and the Rams will be tied if this ends up what we think. And the Rams are one behind with the tiebreaker. So very interesting how this is going to turn out. All right, we got Saturday football. Let's look at the games that we had here. I'll start with you, Joey. Philadelphia just owns the division right now, especially with the Cowboys loss. They don't have to win in order to make it into the playoffs, but I think they want to in order to go in with the right momentum. 29-18 is the final against the Commanders. Washington falls to 4-11. Not really a competitive game, at least not after the half. Commanders were ahead 10-7 at halftime, but Philadelphia wins the second half and the game. 29-18 is the final. Well,
I think Jalen Hurts, first of all, we'll start there. I think Jalen Hurts played a pretty efficient game. He got A.J. Brown involved early and often. I think he had a ton of targets this game, just under 100 yards total. And Hurst was pretty efficient. Again, they don't throw for a lot of yards. They missed some big plays, but they also made some. And they got the running back involved. He had a really good game. He had a couple long runs in this game. So I think they did something versus the Commanders that really helped their momentum going into future games. The Commanders are really out of whack, but it's a divisional game. They played really hard. They got their quarterback hurt down the stretch, so then they come off with the third. They had to play with the third quarterback down the stretch. Terry McCullough, he made some big plays in this game. They really didn't run the ball very well or efficiently at times when they needed to, but they were simply outclassed, to be honest with you. And the Eagles are the class of the division, but it remains to see if they can put enough together to go on a run like they did last year.
Saquon Barkley has 132 yards. He has a touchdown, as Joey mentioned. A.J. Brown had 9 receptions, 95 yards. No touchdowns for him, but really they're trying to make him the go-to guy, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, I mean, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? And that's sort of what it was for him, because they weren't getting the ball to him a lot earlier. They're winning, but his numbers were bad. People are talking about his production. Maybe he's not as good. I mean, they're coming off a Super Bowl win, and we had people talk about trading him for Pete's sake after a month into the season. Kind of silence that. I think right now, obviously, they're in the playoffs, right? The division isn't very good. The Commanders, just a terrible year for them, right? Just kind of a complete 180 in what they did last year. But if you're the Eagles right now, it's just get right. You know what I mean? We're going to figure everything out. We're gonna be in rhythm. We're gonna get to the best possible place we can be before the playoffs start. Because obviously, it's a team that's won a Super Bowl just a few months prior. They're the defending champs. So the idea is we're going to continue to play our game. We're going to try to get back to where we were. It's been ugly. It's been bumpy. It hasn't been good for us in a lot of cases, but they're still 10-5. They're still right there in the playoff conversation. And as far as contention, the NFC, they can catch fire. They're running the ball well again, which is good. Saquon's getting going. Even Jalen's used his legs a little less, but more effectively. He played a clean game. He looked really comfortable in the pocket, which I haven't seen that in a while. If you go back and watch the Chargers game, the previous game, it was ugly. But Eagles are getting, they're just trying to figure things out, and they're trying to, put their best foot forward before the playoffs start. Try to stay healthy, try to be in rhythm, and try to go out and repeat.
Well, 29-18 is the final for that one, the first of the 2 Saturday games. The second one, another overtime thriller. Bears only had 3 points at the end of the third quarter. They score 13 in the fourth. They get 6 in overtime. They end up winning this one 22-16. Classic Bear Packers game. Just 2 weeks ago, they played each other in Lambeau. It was a victory for the Packers. They're getting a split. The Bears are. What a confidence builder, Joey, for them to come from behind, to do it at home against a team like the Packers, the oldest rivalry in the game itself. This was a distinctive game. This could be a game changer, in my opinion, for the Bears, in that they believe in themselves in a much different way. We're behind by a lot against a team that we just lost to a couple weeks ago. Tell me where I'm wrong with this, but I think Chicago really did everything they could to boost their confidence and go in and just take the division back. It's theirs if they keep winning. They control their own destiny.
With that, you were completely right. First of all, the game was, for the most part, a defensive game until late in the fourth quarter, when Chicago decided that we're still in this thing and we have a chance to win it. Now
it's time to play. Yeah, it's time.
That's right. And guess what? The young quarterback stepped up and made some plays, and that throw that he made in overtime was a thing of beauty. I mean, it couldn't have been thrown any better. That was a fantastic catch. But the thing they were able to do is, in this game, is play good defense. Caleb was efficient. Again, the numbers aren't great. Yeah, I mean, threw for 250 yards, and this was a cold game. But the percentage is just, maybe 55%. I mean, so he's not where he wanted to be from a accuracy standpoint right now. But when the rubber met the road and he needed to make plays, he did that. From the Packers standpoint, I'll be curious to see where they go from here. Caleb Love left early with a concussion, and actually Willis came in and played pretty well.
Yeah,
he played pretty
well.
They didn't miss a whole lot with him, and they actually ran the ball fairly well. So defensively, they had some letdowns, which obviously the defense changed with Parsons out because now you don't have that guy to really affect the passer to help everyone else. Now everyone else has to be a factor, and they just don't have that difference maker on defense that made everything else better. But give the Bears credit. I think this is a turning point in their season, and their momentum has shifted completely. They feel like they can beat anybody at this point, and it would be something if they were able to get the number 1 seed and everybody had to come to Chicago to play. That would be something.
Packers rushed for 192 yards, Brian, 150 for the Bears. Obviously, both of these teams in the cold weather, if they're playing at home, the run game is a distinct advantage. But as Joey mentioned, 250 yards from Caleb, 2 touchdowns, no interception, a real clean game. He was not sacked either. So give credit to the offensive line for the Bears. Good job by them.
Bears have, they've won games in different ways. If you look at how they've done it this year, when they need to throw the ball, they have. When they need to run the ball, they have. When they need to play defense, they have. They've showed a lot of flexibility as far as, hey, let's get a feel for what we're doing. Let's get a feel for the game sense, and let's try to figure it out. And we feel like we got enough talent across the board in order to get it done. And obviously that, it's been the case and it's worked because they're the top dog in the NFC North right now. And ironically enough, Aaron Rodgers beating the Lions too clinches them a playoff spot. Imagine saying that a couple years ago, like, hey, Aaron Rodgers helps the Chicago Bears clinch a playoff spot. How far we've come. But I don't want to dog on the Packers too much because they've had some injuries. Obviously, losing Parsons and losing Kraft and losing all these guys, and then obviously lose your starting quarterback. I'm going to give some credit, like Joey said. Malik Willis has done a phenomenal job. Every single instance where he's had to come in and make a play for this team over the last couple seasons, because it hasn't just been a one-time thing. Mm-hmm. He's been up and ready. There's going to be a lot of teams next year who are going to need a quarterback. Maybe I know the Atlanta Falcons are a team. They might need a quarterback for the first month or so. And I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be a team just finished up playing right now. The Colts are in that boat as well. He might be playing himself into a job, not just right now, but into the future.
Yep. Kansas City needs a quarterback.
The Chiefs are gonna, so
they need a quarterback today.
They need 2 quarterbacks. They lost both quarterbacks in a matter of a week. So, credit to him and credit to this Packers team because listen, this is a very good Bears group. They're very good. They've beaten a lot of good teams. They've beaten the Packers now, but it's just been kind of a nightmare. It's just one injury after another, and they're just shorthanded, and they're still trying to figure out who the number 1 receiver is. It's just been tough sledding for them. They played a competitive game, but this was a game for the Bears where I don't want to say kind of a permanent overtaking the division, but they've arrived, right? The Lions are out of it with their loss, and the Packers are now 2 full games back. Credit to Caleb Williams, credit to this offense, the run game. DJ Moore, who's kind of been a letdown this season, makes the biggest play of the game, maybe the biggest play of their season so far. And Chicago's right in the thick of things. They're right up there with Seattle and the Rams and the Niners as far as the 1 seed in the NFC going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and they got a better record than the Eagles, and for obvious reasons, they took the division. Last year they were in last place. Right now with 2 games to go, they're in first. So that's a look at Saturday's games. With Thursday and Saturday each having an overtime game. We don't have another one for the rest of the week, but let's go into Sundays. Buffalo goes into Cleveland. Joey, this is one where the Bills have got to keep pace with the Patriots. It was close now. Shedeur actually outplayed, if you're just looking at it from a numbers perspective, Josh Allen, but, he didn't win the game. So that's one of the big factors. And Cook has 117 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, 23-20 is the final there. Did Buffalo escape with a good win, or was it just they didn't play their best and they were still good enough to be able to beat a bad team in Cleveland who falls to 3-12?
I think both of those. I don't think obviously Buffalo played their best, although Josh Allen's numbers were, pretty efficient. He didn't throw for a ton of yards, obviously, but the numbers were pretty efficient. And but James Cook is a special player. He was the determining factor in this game. When you can run the ball again and control the line of scrimmage, you can do a lot of things. They kept the pass rusher from. He only had a half a sack, so he didn't break the record on them.
Miles Garrett.
And I'm sure that was a main thing. Is we're going to double Miles Garrett, and he's not going to break the sack record on us. We'll let him break it next week on somebody else. So
yeah, and that's a key factor. You know,
not against us. Not against us. Yeah,
that's a locker room thing. That
absolutely.
Yeah.
And Shedeur played a solid game. I mean, again, I go back. He just doesn't have any help around. I mean, he's the leading passer and the leading rusher again this game. I think that's the third game in a row he's been the leading rusher, along with everything else. So they just don't have a lot of talent on this team.
Where do you invest if you're Cleveland? I'm looking ahead already. Are they going to draft linemen, or are they going to draft skill guys in order to give Shedeur something to, something to ease the pressure off of him, whether it be a running back? You can get a running back in the second or third round, a really good one. But what about a top receiver?
I would look in the receiver market. I wouldn't, unless you're absolutely sure about a quarterback. Which, out of the guys I've seen, I like them. I don't love them. I wouldn't take a quarterback here. I would maybe sign a veteran who can come in and play. Even if Shedeur is not the guy. You like to have someone, him behind someone, a veteran to learn from. I would consider that as well. But I would not draft a quarterback with their first pick. I would draft linemen. I would draft receivers. I would draft another running back. I would consider moving the tight ends I have, and I keep one of them. But they just need playmakers. They're a little bit like the Titans. They need playmakers. Except Cleveland has a little more in their favor, because I think the quarterback will continue to develop and be good enough to win football games with.
Yeah, maybe trade down and get another pick, maybe a late first rounder and
Absolutely.
A guy maybe in the middle of the first round, and you get a top tackle, let's say. And then
there's enough offensive linemen that'll be in this draft to where they could really, again, the draft is after free agency. So I was always taught by a really great man, Dick Haley, that if you need one position, then you probably should get two of them. So if you get one in free agency, you can get that same position in the draft, because if you're getting an older player, you're betting that older player is going to be healthy.
Yeah.
So I just think it's important to solidify the offensive line, especially with a young quarterback.
Well, and you're 13-2, and you're going into 2 weeks left in the season. You got more than one player that you need. You got 3-2. Excuse me, I said 13-2. 3-12. They got a lot of needs. Brian, first and foremost, Bills end up keeping pace with the Patriots. That's a must-win for them, even though they didn't play their best. They played well enough to win on the grass there in Cleveland.
This isn't an unheard of stat line, right? There's times where the Bills are at their best, where Josh Allen isn't dropping back and throwing it 35, 40 times. I don't need him to score 5 touchdowns. And I think it's good, right? You got a guy who's a game record, Miles Garrett. You're like, hey, let's not get our MVP quarterback crushed out there, right? Let's run the ball. Let's change a pace. Let's play some defense. Let's beat a team that we think we're better than, which on paper I think they are better than them. Cleveland's got some talent, young talent. We can talk about them. I think if Shedeur is the guy, I think they already have a leg up on a lot of the bad teams in the league, because they have their guy in the room, right? And there's a lot of teams, a lot of competing teams. There's a lot of middle of pack teams who they're unsure who their quarterback's going to be going forward. So to have that guy in the room, to have, a guy that you could try it out on Sunday and feel like, hey, this is our future, we can build around him, you're already better off than half the teams in the league. So it's not too bleak for them. I know there was a moment, Quinshawn Judkins, I think he dislocated ankle, breaks his leg. Yeah. You hate to see that, because he was a bright spot for them. We talked about the running back room not being great. Obviously Nick Chubb with his injury, he's no longer there, but they haven't had a consistent run game in a while. And you can see it, right? If you look at the offensive production over the last couple of seasons, that's been a huge factor. And any young quarterback that you're going to bring in, or any veteran quarterback, you're going to be able to run the ball and establish, kind of dominance up front. And they can't do that right now. And they're playing behind the 8 ball. But credit to Shedeur. He did play pretty well. Josh Allen, I don't want to say it was a Sunday off for him, play selection wise, but he was efficient. Like Joey said, he did what he needed to do to win the game. And the Bills beat a team that they should have, you move on, you win another game, you keep pace in the AFC playoff picture.
And Harper, I don't mean to cut you off, but this is also the time of year where you have to be mindful, or we all have to be mindful, that coaching changes are coming. And I'm not sure, to be quite honest, that Cleveland won't be one of those teams. I mean, Stefanski has been, 2-time coach of the year for what that's worth. But when you look at how things have gone down the pike this year with you having two veteran quarterbacks and you trading those guys, not having a backup behind two rookies that you intend to play with no leadership. When there are a lot of things that happened for the Browns this year that made zero sense. So I think it's fair to look at him and see and wonder if he's the guy for this job in the future.
Not only the coach, but you're asking your quarterback to play Big 12 football and carry that RPO, and we've seen that happen before in the league where somehow or another quarterback always loses. Don't do that. Just keep him healthy and keep him safe. All right, Chargers and Cowboys is the next game we're going to look at. Chargers needed to win, and they did. Interesting game here. They were hit 21-17 at halftime. Cowboys, whose offense has just been tremendous throughout the course of the year. 2 goose eggs in the third and the fourth quarter. So congratulations to the Chargers defense. They are now 11-4. LA is. So Joey, I'll start with you. Big win. Justin Herbert throws for 300 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns, enough to win against a very good, or at least offensively a very good Cowboy team.
An emphatic win on the road by the Chargers. They did everything they needed to do. I mean, Justin Herbert played a really, really efficient game. He ran the ball when he needed to. He was great. At every moment they needed him to make a play, he either made the play with his arm or with his legs to get out of trouble. And then we're still talking about a guy that has an injured wrist. He's playing really well defensively. To be able to shut the Cowboys out in the second half, I mean, what can you say? Because they have one of the top 2 or 3 most explosive offenses in the National Football League. And but what they did is they shut down the run game. And again, both Pickens or Lamb, both of those guys can't beat you if you have any chance of beating the Cowboys. And while Pickens had a big game, Lamb, he did not. So it's interesting. And that defense with the Cowboys is they scare me sometimes, especially with their tackling. So Jerry made some auspicious comments after the game about the defense. Basically, he was asked about the defense coordinator, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be Eberflus will be back as the defense coordinator. But I would, and that's fine. I mean, it's his team; he can do what he wants. But I would say he, and when I say he, I mean the owner. Is more of the problem with the defense than the defense coordinator.
Yeah, just take the best player in the league and train him.
It hurt though, right? He
foresaw
that. He foresaw the injury coming, right?
Just a couple days before the season starts, and how do you like me now?
And then you don't try to replace anything for him until the trade deadline. So now you have guys that need to get acclimated to what they're doing. So it's easy to blame the coordinator. So. Yeah. I'm sure he'll do that because he has no mirrors in his house.
Well, Chargers keep pace. They're 11-4 after this win. 34-17 is the final there against Cowboys. Cowboys basically eliminated from the playoffs. They're 6-8-1 with that tie that they had earlier in the season with the Packers. Next game we're going to look at Kansas City and Tennessee. And Joey, I'm just going to tell you right now. Actually, Brian, I'm going to start with you. Kansas City got off the bus and said, "We're not going to play today. We're not. We don't feel it."
Only the team got off the bus. Man, they had 7 or 8 guys that didn't start. Now, obviously, some guys are banged up. Right, like Mahomes isn't healthy. Rashee Rice isn't healthy, and if you're not healthy, you're not going to trot you back out there after they've already been eliminated from the playoffs. But this is a weird sight. There's still weeks left in the season. The Chiefs are resting guys because the season's over, not because they're, the playoffs are coming up. They're trying to stay healthy. This was uncharted territory. There's a lot of young Kansas City fans that they've never experienced something like this. So the Titans are going to play hard. They're a young team. They got a lot of young guys that are fighting for roster spots, and maybe not on this team, but maybe next year going forward, showing, hey, I can still play, watch the tape. And, it showed, right? The Chiefs they were outmanned, they were outmatched, and they didn't look like they wanted it. And, unfortunately, when you lose your starting quarterback last week and then you lose his replacement this week, that's a tough hill to climb, right? That's very difficult to overcome, even against a 2-12 team, which they were up against with the Tennessee Titans. But, it is what it is. It's bad football late in the year. And this was not one of the games you had on the quad box, if I'll be honest with you, if you're watching games on Sunday. This was you could skip this one.
Well, it is if you're a Cam Ward fan. And Joey, I think
Yeah.
what a confidence booster for him. He throws for just about 230 yards. He's got a couple of touchdowns, and he gets a win. One of these important wins is against Kansas City Chiefs. No one's going to know in 100 years whether or not Mahomes and Kelsey and everybody else, Pollard, were all healthy. They don't know. But I'll tell you what, they played well. Good for them. This is it wasn't a must-win game in any way, shape, or form, but it was a confidence-building game for them going into the last couple of weeks of the season. We beat the defending AFC champs, team that's won Super Bowls. It looks good on Cam's resume.
Yeah, last week in the show, I thought that the Titans had a chance to win this game because they are a team that, despite their record, they're young, they play really hard, and usually they can run the ball. In the last few weeks, they've really been able to run the ball, and Pollard was able to run the ball again this week. But Cam Ward is continuing to grow, and as I've said, he hasn't been the problem with this team. He has not hit what we normally call a rookie wall. He has continually gotten better week after week. The offensive line needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
The receiving core needs a lot of help. The tight end position needs a lot of help. They need more than one running back. So there are a lot of things offensively that need to get better. Defensively, they had been pretty good, despite trading away some of the best defensive players. So it's interesting. And like you said, a couple of years from now, nobody would care that Kansas City didn't have their best players. They'll see the score and say Cam Ward found a way to get a win. But looking at the Chiefs, you can tell how much they depended on Patrick Mahomes. And I don't want to say, they did miss some other, the Rashid Rices of the world. Those guys weren't playing. But the heavy load that Kansas City had put on their quarterback is almost malpractice. They really have to do a better job of getting the kind of players, protecting the offensive line. And the offensive line will be better for Kansas City next year because they're so young and beat up. But it's almost malpractice what they ask for them. If I'm home when I get back, I'm instantly asking for a renegotiated contract.
Otherwise, he may not be there when they make the move to Kansas. He may not be a part of that. He may not be a part of that in 2031. Yeah.
Yeah. For those that don't know, do either of you? I read a little bit about that. It's very interesting how the governor of the state of Kansas ends up calling a press conference to host the meeting that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to leave Arrowhead Stadium. Well, it's not Arrowhead anymore. It's what, GEMA or MH. But they in 5 years, in 2031, the lease is over, and they are going to be moving to the other side of the state, and they'll be on the east side of Kansas instead of in Missouri. Joe, your comments on that real quick before I go to Brian.
Well, I'm assuming they have approved to build a stadium is what I'm assuming. To announce that, because I don't know where they're going to play right now when they get there.
Approved the tax in order to allow for the money to be generated. They're looking for approximately $3 billion to build a domed stadium in Kansas. Mm-hmm. It's not all that far away from where their current place is, but the tax was approved unanimously by the state of Kansas. That's what I read. Please forgive me for interrupting you.
No, I would assume for them to make that move down the line, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, 5 years from now, that a stadium is on the way, because right now they're going to play at in Manhattan at the University of Kansas Stadium until that happens. So that's what I'm assuming. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops as we get closer to that date.
Brian, your thoughts here before we move on to the next game.
Well, I think Mahomes played a couple games at the University of Kansas State, didn't he? I think he played a couple games there back in college. I don't know how comfortable he's there now, but it is interesting. I feel like a lot of people, hopefully not a majority, but I feel like a lot of people feel like the Chiefs are already located in Kansas, right, based on their name. But I guess you can just take the city off of it now, right? And they can just go Kansas, just make it shorter, right? It's a lot cleaner. But it's the politics of the sport, right? It's like, hey, we need a new stadium, otherwise we're going to jet, and they're going to get a nice one, I assume, right? The deal's already in place. I'm sure they have the prototype. I'm sure that the Hunt family has the prototype in their office somewhere, and it looks all nice and everything on paper. But we'll see. Hopefully it works out for him. I think it's good for the league. You're expanding, you're kind of newer markets and kind of testing the waters and everything. But if this team's good enough, people are going to show up to the game regardless of where they play.
Well, Arrowhead was opened in 72, if I'm not mistaken, or at least the 73 season. I think 72 was that Kansas City-Miami game that went to overtime, and Jan Stenerud with a field goal, and the Dolphins and what have you. But that would make it about a 52, 53-year-old stadium.
Great stadium. The home field advantage, though, it's almost second to none. The way that obviously the noise and stuff bounces around there, so it'll be interesting.
I completely agree. What I'm throwing out there is what the Atlanta Braves did here in the state of Georgia is they moved out of the city and they bought property, and they bought the stadium, the retail, the shops, the auto mechanic place, the apartments, all parking, of the place around that, the parking, etc. Thank you. And Foxborough was kind of the same thing. When Kraft took over, he goes, hey, there's this big empty lot across the street. Why don't we put a mall there? And even though the road to get to our stadium from Boston is a single lane in each direction, we're going to change some things. But the ownership profitability changes immensely with that dynamic. And I think that you're going to see that from the future. It's just that the cities are going to say, we can't afford what you want. Go out on your own. Look at what the Bears are going to do. They're contemplating now moving northwest of Chicago, where there used to be a horse track, and turning that into their new stadium. I don't know if it's been finalized yet, but they'll own all that property. How many hundreds of acres? But it'll be Bear property in the apartments and the parking and the retail space and the bars and you name it. It's keep your eye on that, folks. That's where the NFL, that's where Major League Baseball, that's where hockey, that's where basketball, it's all going. All right, let's get back to
which. Didn't I just hear that? Didn't I just hear a week ago or so that the Patriots are in the process of trying to move into downtown Boston?
That could be. And the deal must be so stinking sweet that because where are they going to put the stadium? There's no place unless they move somebody out. The square footage in that town, right. Unless it's outside and they move a bunch of folks in the old
cobblestone. They'll have cobblestone parking lots.
They will have cobblestones too. Yes, and Paul Revere will there'll be a statue of him somewhere just outside,
right next to Brady. Paul Revere and Brady right next to each other.
Yeah. The statue of Brady goes in front of Paul Revere. 1 if by land and 7 if by
there you go.
All right, let's look at the Bengals and the Dolphins. Two teams going in opposite directions. Bengals have been on again, off again, and Joe Burrow throws for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 45-20 was the final. This kind of puts a stake in the Dolphins' momentum that they have been. Joey, first and foremost, Joe Burrow's one heck of a player now. He's hard to stop.
Hey, I you know what? I've been contemplating saying this, but I'm gonna say it because I think the Dolphins are the fork has been stuck in them, and like it already is the Bengals. But if I have draft picks, I'm gonna give the Bengals as many draft picks as I can to get Joe Burrow.
To get that guy,
I'm not sure he wants to be there, and if I can put together three first-round draft picks to give the Bengals, knowing how frugal ownership is, they would be happy to get that money off the books, I'm sure, and I would take that quarterback and draft offensive line, get some in free agency, and go to work. Now that being said, I do think, and I know I'm not really talking about the game. I'm about to get into coaches. I think both of these coaches should be worried when the season is over.
Yeah.
That Monday meeting, that exit meeting, could be a real exit meeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Brian, Bengals 45-21 is the final, on the road too. That's a little bit of a surprise to me, but well, I'll just say the same thing. Joe Burrow, he's a bad man. Goodness gracious, he can play.
If you listen to his interviews recently, he's a sad man right now. The way he's talking, it sounds like he's talking about not liking the game and everything that's going on. And I will say this: if the Bengals did decide to blow it up, I don't believe that Jamar Chase fellow would want to stick around for a rebuild either, though. Although they'd love to have him there for a young quarterback. So This is a team that could acquire 4, 5, 6 extra first round picks on top of probably. I mean, they wouldn't be much worse than they are now record wise, but they would be worse. So, I mean, the dynamic of this team could change. I don't know. I believe the Dolphins, the team, ironically, they're playing. I think they offered like something like 4 first round picks to swap with them when Burrow came out. I think it was in 2020. So, anything could happen, but I don't know if maybe that was Joe talking and saying, "Hey, I really don't want to be here in Cincinnati. I'm not having a good time." It's a whole lot of fun when they're winning, right? But they haven't done a lot of winning recently. The team can't stay healthy. The offensive line isn't very good. The defense isn't very good. It's a bad football team with a couple of superstars that are kind of selling tickets and jerseys right now. It's a mess. And if you're the Dolphins, the other side, they're in need of a quarterback too, right? They throw him into the mix and say, hey, let's see what we got. They've already punted on the season. You bench Tua, but he's guaranteed $54 million next year. So I don't know how long you're gonna keep on the bench or someone else is gonna want him on theirs. It's just this is a mess. The coaching situation is a mess. The quarterback room is a mess. It's just both these teams right now are just trying to figure it out, man. It's a mess with Cincinnati and Miami.
Yeah, financially, there's so many things going on that you reward guys for playing well. You give them big contracts, and the next thing you don't have anybody else around on the team that you can pay that's any good. It's a problem. But anyways,
I'll just say this. Financially, it would be a big blow for the Dolphins, but they could absorb it. I mean, hey, Denver got the right coach in. They absorbed the Russell Wilson deal and the money, and which was like a total of with the cap acceleration was close to $90 million. And guess what? Look at where they are now. So it can be done.
Yeah.
If you have the right people in place and you know how to manage the cap and get the right players around you until you get the right quarterback in. So can it be done? Absolutely.
Well, it's difficult.
Punishment.
I'm here in Atlanta. Brian and I both know you bring Arthur Smith in as the head coach. First thing you tell him is, oh, by the way, here are the keys to the car, but you're $60 million in the hole, and we're not going to be able to sign anybody. So
we're paying 3 guys on the roster or quarterbacks making $50 million.
The next year, they're only $35 million in the hole. And then the year after that, they finally got some money, and they get a losing record, and the coach is gone in time.
See you later. See you later.
Yeah. Amazing. So goofy things happen all the time, Joey. You and I. I'm not debating. I'm just saying that. Right. Gosh, in order to get it right, it is not as easy as some teams make it out that they should. And here's a couple of teams here. This next game that we're going to look at that are trying to make it right. Jets were 3-11 going into this one. Saints were 4-10. How about New Orleans, Joey? Congratulations to them. Young coach, whatever. They've gotten a little winning streak here. They were horrible first part of the year, but they're finding ways to win, even though they're not beating good teams. They're winning, and 5-10 is not as bad as it was earlier in the year. But 29-6 is the final at home. They really dominated, at least from a scoring perspective. Taylor Schuff, 308 yards. He had a touchdown. Not incredibly impressive, but he gets a win and gets to build his confidence.
New Orleans has played pretty good down the stretch here. I mean, they beat Tampa Bay. They beat who else?
Carolina.
They beat Carolina. I mean, so these last 3 weeks, they've played pretty good football. So you have to give that head coach credit. I mean, he's a young coach, first-time head coach, and the Eagles miss him for sure. That because he was a coordinator last year. But so they've done some good things. The young quarterback is starting to turn the corner. Is playing pretty well. They've been injured a lot. They got Taysom Hill back, and he did some good things for them, both running, and he threw a touchdown in the game, I believe. Chris Olave is playing well. So I think New Orleans has some things to make the fan base say, okay, we're 5-10, but you know what? We can get some pieces here. We got a lot of older veterans that'll probably retire after the season. And I think there's a silver lining with the Saints right now. That same silver lining I don't see with the Jets right now. I mean, they're a hot mess. I'm not sure what to say about them. I think if Aaron Glenn wasn't as close as he is with the owner, that he would be in a one and done situation, because I don't see them getting better. I know, I'm assuming their plan is to figure out what they have, acquire as many draft picks as they can, and kind of build from there. But I don't see any progress week to week. So it's hard to evaluate guys when everything is bad. You got to first.
We threw this out there just a minute ago. Do the Jets give 4 first-rounders to the Bengals to say we want Joe Burrow?
They've got him. They've got him now.
If I'm Joe Burrow, do I want to go to the Jets?
No, you don't. You just said it was a hot mess. He's coming from a hot mess into a hotter mess, a bigger pile. No way.
Hey, with more media scrutiny.
A bigger, colder city. Yes. There you go.
A hotter, bigger pile of stuff.
Yeah.
All right, let's get off this one. Saints go to 5-10. They win at home. 29-6 is the final here. Next game, Atlanta goes to Arizona. And guys, we talked all year about how close Arizona has played just about everybody, even the Falcons. They're right there at the end. They just couldn't score in the fourth quarter. They only get 3 points in the second half. 26-19 is the final. Arizona falls to 3-12. And the Falcons, Brian, if I'm not mistaken, you had a stat that if and when, and maybe kind of sort of if, but the NFC South, had they won one other game, they're actually in the tiebreaker for first place. Is that what?
If they would have beaten Carolina a couple weeks ago, it would have been a 3-way tie for first, and the Falcons had the better record. It's just, it's how the cookie crumbles, though, in this league, right? It's they could have beat the Jets, too. They could have done what the Saints did. They could have beat the Jets, too. But a lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas. Kyle Pitts is playing his best football now. He's making a case for either a new contract or a franchise tag, or someone will pay him next year because he's playing too well not to, which is, hey, good for him, right? If he's getting healthy, if he's doing well at the right time. But I know Joey and I have talked a lot about the Cardinals and their quarterback situation, their offense, everything that's going on and whatever. And I think we've kind of talked on the show about Jacoby Brissett. His numbers look pretty decent, right? But Cardinals have won a grand total of 0 games with Jacoby Brissett at the helm. So I don't think Kyler Murray's back. I think Kyler's already signed off on that. I think ownership signed off on that. I think the coaching staff has signed off on that. I don't know if Jacoby Brissett is your guy. Maybe Joe Burrow likes the warm weather in Arizona and they have 4 first-round picks to offer, 3, whatever it takes. But a lot of soul search. Both these teams got a lot of soul searching to do in the offseason. They might need new quarterbacks. The Falcons, at least, for injury, and the Cardinals, because, who knows?
Well, Arizona falls to 3-12. And gosh, earlier in the year, they had 5 or 6 games that were 1-score ball games. And this is another one that they can add into their resume. But Atlanta goes to 6-9. Not great, but a couple of wins earlier in the year, and who knows what would have happened. All right, next game we're going to look at.
Hey, Harper, before we go, can I mention one thing?
Absolutely.
Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
I mean, we
leading
have to
receiver. He wasn't leading.
We have to give him credit because
2,000 yards.
Over 2,000 yards total yards in offense this year on this team. I mean, if I'm Bijan, I'm considering leaving. I mean, you know what I mean? If we don't get this quarterback situation right, because he's such a special player. He's a mixture of I don't know. He's like the quickness of a Warwick Dunn with better finishing speed, and I could give you 2 or 3 other guys, but he's a special. The bottom line is he's a special player, and it's a shame that he hasn't sniffed a playoff since he's been in the league so far.
And they split carries too. Algier is getting double-digit carries every game, so it's he could have more. I think they want to keep him healthy and fresh, but he could absolutely have more.
Yeah.
There was a quote several years ago. Someone asked Eric Clapton, "What is it like being the best rock and roll guitarist in the world?" And Clapton responded by saying, "I don't know. You need to ask Prince." And when you ask Saquon Barkley, what's it like being the best running back in the National Football League, and he says, ask Bijan Robinson, right? The respect factor for Bijan and what he can do. I, as a Falcon fan, am going, please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt. Please don't hurt your knee. Don't ruin it. We don't want another William Andrews on our hands, and I hope, it never happens for him, but what a great talent. I appreciate
every jump cut on that turf. You hold your breath, but then you see the defender is the one hunched over and he's the one falling down. You're like, oh, well, hey, you know what, man, if this thing's working, keep rolling with it.
Well, Brian, the next game we're going to look at, Giants lose 16-13 in a close one at home against the Vikings. And now that the Giants are 2-13, they're going to play the Raiders, who we're going to talk about in just a little bit. And what will that game mean next week when the Giants and the Raiders play?
That's the first overall pick game. This is like
that's the number one bowl,
like the anti-Super Bowl.
The
yes,
loser
honestly,
is the number one bowl.
It's going to be interesting to be like both quarterbacks like, oh no, like I don't know how I missed that route. I don't know how that happened. I haven't done it all season. I missed it since training camp. But it's watching this game. I was kind of impressed with JJ McCarthy. I don't think he played a great game. He left a little early with injury, but he was efficient, and I think they needed him to be, right. And look on the other side, the Giants with their young quarterback and Jackson Dart, they don't have anybody around him right now. They have nobody healthy. This is a team now. If the Giants end up losing that game next week, and either way, they're going to be picking in the top 5, but they can add a lot of talent next year just from guys getting healthy, and then in free agency, and then you add 1 or 2 guys in the first 35 to 38 picks in the draft. This could be a very good Giants team next year. I don't know, what the coaching situation is going to look like. I don't know what a lot of stuff's going to look like, but they're going to have some talent. And I think for both these teams, they get it figured out. They got a chance to, be much better, much more improved next season.
Joey, your thoughts? Anything?
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add. I mean, I think the Giants, again, we're going to call this next week the Best Loser Bowl, the BLB Bowl, because whomever win will probably get the first overall pick. And so it'll be interesting. But like you said, the Giants do have some talent. Minnesota, again, I don't know where Minnesota goes from here. They have to get better on both lines, offensively and defensively, and they have to make a decision on McCarthy. I think they need a veteran guy behind him. I really do, if he's going to be your guy. But physically, he's got to recreate himself because he's had 2 different injuries, a concussion. I mean, those are the things that is going to keep happening to him.
Both these quarterbacks, both of them,
and the young quarterback in New York. I mean, he thrives on taking a beating, and what he doesn't realize is that beating is not only costing him, it's costing his team. So he's got to change his mindset of how he plays and how he gets out of bounds and slide and that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting where this goes. And again, it'll be interesting where the coaching search goes for the Giants.
Well, long way to go, but New York falls to 2-13. They lose by 3 to the Vikings at home. Next game we're going to look at is Tampa Bay going on the road against Carolina. First time in a while, Tampa Bay has lost first place this late in the season. And who would have thought the doormat of the division last year is in control of their own destiny at 8-7. Joey, I'll start with you. He didn't throw for very, very well, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'll tell you what, Bryce Young just finds little ways to be unimpressive, but get the wins and take the division right now in a division that nobody wants it seems, except for them. They seem to want it a little bit more than everybody else.
Bryce is playing really efficient football. Again, not throwing for a lot of yards. He's making key throws, and actually he did a few things with his legs that impressed me in the game the other day. Getting out of trouble, staying in the pocket and then running, escaping, not trying to escape out of the back, not trying to escape like a lot of young quarterbacks do, out of the back of the a pocket where the edge rushers can get you. So he did a lot of good things. So I was impressed. What I was not impressed with, for the most part, was Tampa's defense. That scared me some. And Baker hasn't played great lately, and their offensive line hadn't played great lately. I mean, they have their whole array of receivers back, and he still throws for 145 yards. 18 of 26. So that's telling me that there's still something missing with that offense and Baker. Baker in this game, watching this game, looked more like the old Baker that bounced around from team to team than the Baker we saw the first few games of the season. And
is that off shoulder left arm injury bothering him more than we know?
Probably. I would have to assume it is, because this is not the guy we saw when he was completely healthy. So I'm going to assume that's part of it. But in the midst of that, they've lost like 3 games in a row, and they were the clear leader in this division. Now they're behind, and I know for a fact. I know Todd Bowles personally. I know he's a good coach, but I'm a little bit concerned here if they finish this thing off on a 4 or 5 game losing streak, I'm not sure how comfortable that seat will be either.
Yeah, Brian, it's a tough road to hoe when you were winning all these games early in the season by a point or a field goal. Was it the Philadelphia game that they end up losing with a block kick? But they've just struggled lately, and I think Joey's right. Baker's not 100%, and gosh, you rely on him so much. It's almost as if, this is the same thing that we were talking about with Patrick Mahomes a little bit earlier. They're so dependent upon him to be able to just play above average in order to be competitive. When he doesn't, they lose these close games like they did here at Carolina by 3.
Well, the crazy part was the tougher part of their schedule was the first half, right? Their last 3 losses are New Orleans, Atlanta, and Carolina. All those teams in the division, all those teams they know well, and none of them were over 500, and you lose all 3 of them. And then all year we're talking about wait till they get Bucky Irving back, wait till Chris Godwin gets fully healthy, wait till Mike Evans comes back. They all played, and they had a horrible game, maybe their worst offensive production of the season.
Yeah.
It's a logjam at receiver. Egbuka has disappeared. He's gone the wayside. He was still their leading receiver with 40 yards, but he only had 1 catch. I think Mike Evans is 5 for 31. I mean, there's not a lot of consistency in the passing game. I think some of that is Baker, but I don't think the offensive line has been as strong. They got a triumvirate. They got 3 running backs that are all spectacular, but it's kind of like, I think a running back does best when they build up some momentum, right? When they get a feel for the game and they get rolling. But when you're switching guys out as constantly as they are, it's really difficult to do that, right? If this guy's going to get the red zone touches, this guy's, this is our passing back or whatever. I think at a certain point, they're going to have to make a decision on 2 of those guys and kind of rule an odd man out and just kind of go with the dual backfield like most teams are. But Bucks are reeling and the Panthers are kind of finding their stride. It's interesting to see. I mean, they're kind of giving the division away. They still got a chance to win it. I think if they win their next 2, they win the division. But, uncharted territory because Tampa Bay's been on top of the South for the better part of half a decade now. And here come the Panthers, and the Bucks are fading fast at the wrong time of the year.
Yeah, they certainly are. And they fall to 7-8. First time they've had a losing record here this late in the season in a while. In a division that nobody wants to win. So anyways, next one we're going to look at Jacksonville. I'm going to just say it right now. Trevor Lawrence, I owe you an apology because we were ready to give up on you, and look what you're doing, my friend. You're 11-4. You go to Denver, and maybe Denver didn't play their best game defensively. They were exposed, and they wouldn't have been were it not for Trevor Lawrence. So congratulations to the Jaguars. Big win on the road. 34-20 is the final there. Joey, first and foremost, your thoughts. Does this put a chink in the armor of the Broncos and how invincible they are in the AFC? Or is this just one of those days that they just didn't play well? We're going to see better football in the next couple of weeks and certainly in the playoffs from the Broncos.
Well, I think it's both, but this was a bad loss for Denver from the standpoint of this is not the time of the year when you want to lose a game. And this was a big game of a team that was coming in on a winning streak that was hot. You have them at your place. I'm sure 5280 was all over the stadium, probably on the field. I didn't really see this game. But Trevor Lawrence upped his game. I mean, he came in. He was really efficient. He threw the ball around, and he did some really good things. He was mobile with his feet. He created opportunities with his legs. He did what he doesn't always do, which is throw receivers open. Sometimes the average quarterbacks really wait until the receiver is open. The really good quarterback throw receivers open. They throw tight ends open. And for really maybe the first time all year, I saw Trevor do some of that during the game when I looked at clips and played the tape back. So I was really impressed with him this week. They ran efficiently when they needed to. And, he had Washington, the receiver, that stepped up and played. And, I think another area we have to give Jacksonville some credit for is defensively, they played a pretty efficient game.
Yeah. And
they've always had a pretty good defense numbers wise, but it doesn't always translate in what you see. But this week, defensively, they played a pretty good game. Bo Nix threw for a ton of yards, but only 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, he threw for 350, which may have been his career high. But they only scored 20 points. And you again, For Jacksonville to go into Denver and win by double digits tells you the kind of team that Jacksonville potentially could have going into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're peaking at the right time, aren't they, Brian?
Yeah. So I got a stat the last 4 games for Trevor Lawrence. He's got just short of 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 0 turnovers.
Nice.
Over his last 4. So, listen, if he wasn't so up and down at the beginning of the year, he might be in the MVP conversation. Honestly, the way he's playing right now, the Jaguars are rolling. He's playing some good football. I have Brenton Strange in one of my fantasy football teams, and I get the little notification every time the Jaguars are in the red zone. And it seems like every 5 minutes I look at my phone and it's popping up again. Jaguars in the red zone. Jaguars in the red zone. Just over and over again. They're scoring touchdowns too. And they're doing it against a very good team. Like we mentioned, the Broncos are a very good defensive football team. That is their bread and butter. They lead the league in sacks. I don't have the numbers. I don't know how many they had on this on the day. I don't imagine it was very many. But 34 points in Mile High this time of the year against a team that has 12 wins is a very impressive feat. The Jaguars, this is kind of a statement win. The Chiefs win earlier in the year. We were kind of saying, hey, maybe this is their coming out party. Maybe this is them announcing themselves. But, the Chiefs kind of fell off in the year they're having, whatever it is. But I think this is a win that says, hey, we can play with you guys at the top of the AFC, and we're just as confident going against anybody. We'll play you anywhere. It really doesn't matter. I love the coaching staff. I think as long as Trevor continues to play like he's playing and they can run the ball consistently, the defense is good too. This is a team that a lot of people do not want to play. Maybe you want to go play there, obviously, because the weather is going to be warm in Jacksonville, but I don't want to see these guys in the postseason.
Yeah, really interesting. Years ago, Joey, when I was playing, I was in Philadelphia one year, and our offensive strategy was we're going to run right at Lawrence Taylor. We're going to run right at him. We're going to power that man, and we're going to knock him off the ball. We're going to tight end. We're going to chip him with the back. We're going to have Keith Byers try to take it right to him. But they also had some guy named Carl Banks, and they also had some guy named Harry Carson, and they had Leonard Marshall and Dorsey and Jim Burt, and oops. It didn't work out very well. So whatever they tried to do a couple of weeks ago against the Broncos that they saw in film, they decided we're going to go at somebody, and it worked pretty well. So congratulations to the Jaguars. They're 11-4, and they're atop of the AFC South. Next game we're going to look at, this is really a thriller here. I'm kind of rooting for Detroit. I've got one of my best friends from high school. He wears Honolulu blue on every Sunday. And the Steelers ended up getting a squeaker. This last play of the game, pass interference, no pass interference. Wait a second, the pitch and the touchdown, and Stanford Band is on the field. What an amazing turnaround. But the Steelers hold on. They win 29-24 in the final. Steelers go to 9-6. They really separate themselves, and there's a gap now between them and the Ravens. Joey, I'll start with you. Very good football game, but gosh, this is a big loss for the Lions. They're still mathematically involved, but they're hanging on by a
well,
short.
You know where my allegiance lies. I was happy about this game.
Obviously. I know you were. Yeah.
Let's just talk about the pass interference penalties. There was one called on Pittsburgh with the tight end involved, the big guy, that I questioned was a pass interference. The one with Detroit in the end zone, on the left side of the end zone, which resulted in a touchdown, I question as well. The last play of the game with the receiver in the end zone where he pushed off and came back up, that was a clear pass interference. So I thought 2 out of 3 of those calls were bad calls. But the very last play of the game, I thought was a clear pass interference because he ran into the guy, pushed off, and then came back. But that being said, this game was determined by not only how well the Steelers were able to really throw the ball, but how they ran the ball. They probably ran the ball better this game than they ran all year. And I think the fact that Detroit gave up so much in the run game, it opened up other things. So I was really impressed with the Steelers' game plan. And every time you try to count out Mike Tomlin and what they could do, guess what? He comes through and they win a big game. But these are the kind of games, in my opinion, that Aaron Rodgers is on the team for.
Yeah.
Games just like this. And I think it showed up the value that he has in a game like this, a close game, a game like the Lions, a game that they're going in and they're certainly not supposed to win. And they come out and they play the way they played. And, it's unfortunate. We'll talk about the DK Metcalf thing later. So that's unfortunate. But this was a big win for the Steelers, a huge win.
Well, you're a little prejudiced, but yeah, your Steelers did get it. And one thing that impressed me is at the end of the game when basically the whole bench has their arms up in the air, the real teamwork. They were all in it together.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big moment for them as an organization to get over that hump and to beat a team that was desperate to win. The way that they did it there with the last play of the game, it was a 59-minute, 59-second game pretty much. Brian, your thoughts here on this one?
Well, even on that last play, when does forward progress stop? Because Amon-Ra catches the ball at the 1. He doesn't pitch it back until he's almost at the 6. Everyone's like, "Oh, Jared Goff runs it." I'm like, "Well, I mean, I don't know. It's a wonky game for the refs. A lot of weird stuff happened, but I think the Detroit Lions had, as a team, their rushing yards as a team, they had 15 yards on the ground. 15. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery had 15 yards on the ground. Steelers front 7 showed up, plain and simple. They said, "You're not going to run on us." If Jared Goff has a good game, which he did, he had a very good game, but he had to drop back a lot. They harassed him. They did everything they needed to do defensively. I think they executed the game plan perfectly. Kenneth Gainwell now has emerged as a star. He's a huge piece in this offense. And even when the passing game isn't efficient, he's able to make plays out of the backfield, both catching, both running. He's been huge for the Steelers the last month or so, and it really shows on their record. If you look at how well the offense has progressed, Aaron plays off of him. The receivers play off of him. Gainwell's a guy who's listen. If he keeps playing the way he's playing, I mean, they could make some noise in January. But
well, is Gainwell just the guy that happens to be a recipient of a guy like Aaron Rodgers? And I'm going to be the guy. If I'm the dump off guy, I'm not DK. I'm not the Freiermuth guy, but I'm going to get the ball if they're not open. And whoever that guy is, be ready. It's kind of like playing on a pickup team with Magic Johnson. You're going to touch the ball. He's going to find you if you're open, and you better score or you're not going to see the ball again.
Yeah, well, Jaylen Warren has been kind of the between the tackles guy, but that catch that Gainwell made when he's falling down and the interference or whatever, that's one of the best catches I've seen a running back make. He's a vertical threat as well, and he's really kind of given the offense the spacing they need, right? And that's something we talked about early in the year. The Steelers did not throw the ball down the field a lot. We expected DK to be that guy. We expected maybe Calvin Austin, whoever it would be. Gainwell has been a breath of fresh air out of the passing game. Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure, he loves throwing the ball to running backs. We know that, right? So coming in, I think they knew what their responsibility was going to be. And they kind of 180. They kind of did what the Lions running backs have been doing for so long. They were great out of the backfield. They ran the ball well. They scored. It's just they kind of did what Detroit's been doing over the last couple of years. They kind of, gave them a dose of their own medicine. And the Lions, they didn't take it very well. It wasn't a good game. They didn't have a lot of fun, and they ended up losing. And like you said, the playoffs they're hanging on by a thread. Everyone else in the NFC seems to be moving in the right direction. The Lions it seems like this year they just don't have it.
Yeah, Lions have to win, and some teams have to lose in order for that to happen. Let's talk about it now because there's really no other spot here in the show to do it. But DK, Joe, I'll start with you. Interaction with the fan. I didn't see it. I just read about it. But 2-game suspension for this young guy, and couldn't come at a worse time for the Steelers. They need to continue to play well. They've got a 2-game lead against the Ravens with 2 to go. But this is your guy and your franchise wide receiver pretty much. Talk a little bit about what he did and what this means here for the Steelers.
Well, I saw the highlights of it. I mean, I was watching the game and I didn't see the whole interaction. I saw him walk up to the wall there and pull the guy down by the wig thing and then take a punch at him. So now he claims a lot was said, but I'll say this from the video clips that I saw today. If the guy said something, he said it well before DK walked over there. He didn't say it while DK was there. So DK, it looked like, walked over there, grabbed the guy, and then punched him. So I'm assuming something was said. That's going to be a he say, she say kind of thing. But let's be clear. There is no reason in any world for a player to walk over and punch a fan. We've all, as players, heard things, derogatory terms, everything. In my opinion, that's the action of a mental midget. And I'm just going to call it what it is. Because if you're worried about what the fans are saying and you're on the road, then your focus is not where it should be. Okay, you're going to get that. And again, as an African American, I've heard everything in the world being said. Is it right? Of course not. But guess what? Your focus is on the football game. You can't worry about a fan, because if the fans know they can get under your skin, next week they're going to do the same thing. The following week they're going to do the same thing. So he can't do that. Okay, so he's lucky to just get a 2-game suspension, because in no world can you go up and punch a fan because of something they say.
I know. Yeah.
So I don't know, what was going on with him, if there's something off the field that he was concerned with that was weighing on him, and he just took it out. But you can't lose your emotion in that situation. You just can't do it. In no place, no time, no situation can you do that. So he was completely wrong. And whatever. And supposedly I read something today that maybe the fan, that's the same fan who was in Seattle last year that said something. And so who knows what's true. If that is, then that fan should be banned for life from any NFL stadium, if that's the case. But that being said, if you put your hands on a fan and you're in the middle of a game, the officials, the NFL, to be quite honest, they should have looked at the video at halftime and not let him play the second half of the game.
Yeah.
Okay, that should have been rectified immediately.
Well, if you're AJ Brown, you just take your jersey off and you just go off the field and you never play again. That's one thing. I have 2 stories. One, Reggie White in a preseason game. I'm in Green Bay, and next thing we know, it's third quarter, early fourth quarter. Reggie's done for the night, and next thing you know, everybody's going, "Oh my gosh, where's he going?" And Reggie went into the stands. He went to row 1, and there was a 14-year-old kid that had said something to him, very disrespectful. And Reggie went up and told that kid, "You better get some manners, young man. I'm not going to take anything like that out of a 14-year-old kid." And that's all he said to him. He pointed his finger at him and said, "You better, behave." And then he came back. "Reggie, what'd you do? And he said that's exactly what happened. He would not allow a kid to say something, whatever he said,
right,
to Reggie White. Now, that's one example. The other, Deion Sanders, the year after he left Atlanta, he goes to San Francisco. They're playing in Tampa, the big sombrero, and they're going in. If you've been in that stadium, Joey, you remember that there's
I played in that stadium, yes.
Huge tunnel that the visiting team goes into, and someone had thrown a beer from row 20, and it hit Deion right in the helmet, shoulder pads, and everything. Deion goes sprinting up into the stands to go get this fan. This is after the game is over, so there was movement, and there weren't a whole lot of people like there would have been in a full stadium. And Deion catches up to this fan and is furious. He's livid. And there were a couple of security guards that were called in, and they're holding Deion back. And eventually they break him up. And at one point, one of the security guards says, "Deion, seriously, why are you so upset? All he did was throw a drink on you." And Deion said, "I have never touched alcohol. It has ruined my family. I never want to touch alcohol. And this bozo throws a beer on me." And everybody goes, "Whoa, okay, never mind. We get it." But different things set people off. Mm-hmm. Different, so I'm not for what DK did. He needs to man up and realize he's on the field and they're not, and keep that gap and separate it forever. You can't go in the stand unless this guy is somebody that he's had an interaction with previously. He should have been let go. Brian, I've taken way too much time. You have any final comments here on this?
Let me just ask you guys this. What's the protocol for that? If there's a fan that's taking it too far, is there a guy on the sidelines that you go to and you kind of just say, "Hey," because I know in basketball, right, there was a clip here, the Lakers, I think it was either LeBron was at the Lakers or the Cavs. I can't remember which one, but it was here in Atlanta. There was a fan that was saying something courtside was a little too far, and LeBron just goes over the official. He just points, "Hey, that guy right there, get him out of here." And they did. So I don't know what the protocol is for the NFL. I don't know if there's a guy on the sidelines you go up to and say, "Hey, that fan right there needs to go," or I'm asking you guys, how does that work if you were to handle it differently?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a person like that. I know, they have security. They have some security on the field. Okay.
Right.
The event staff is on the field. So I'm not sure how much NFL security, but the event staff is on the field. So I'm not sure if when you point to a person because something, but ultimately, I mean, are you gonna throw everybody out? I mean, every time you go into Eagle Stadium, you're gonna get bum rushed.
You can throw everybody out.
Everybody else get them all out
of here. The old black hole in Oakland. I mean, things was so I don't understand where where the rub is, where that's concerned. I mean, you have to be able to block things like that out, and you can't be a mental midget when people call you things, especially when you're in uniform and on the field. Now, if you're that same person, if he were walking beside you on the street, he wouldn't open his mouth.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. He knows that the only person that will get in trouble for him saying what he's saying is him, because guess what? It's he say, she say, unless they put mics all around so that they can catch every word that everybody say. And trust me, at some point that's coming. Maybe not in our lifetime, but it's coming. But it's crazy. So, that's on DK. He's got to be better.
Pretty much. He's been called out for not being mature enough to handle that. But again, I don't know what was said, and what his week was like, or if that guy has been ragging on him and following him for years. Who knows? But it's an unfortunate situation. It's going to cost him 2 game checks, and it could affect the Steelers offensively here for the next couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Let's look at the last couple of games real quick. We got the Raiders at 2-13, close game, but they fall to the Texans. Joey, 10-5. The Texans kind of keep pace a little bit with Jacksonville. They needed to get a much needed win at home against a really bad Raiders team that Brian told us just a bit ago. The Raiders will play the Giants next week, and the loser has the number 1 draft pick. And unless they screw it up by winning their last game,
they can tie. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, they could tie, and they both
could tie.
Could be a coin flip, and both teams would lose the flip. They'd give it to somebody else. But first and foremost, Texans 23-21. Here's the final.
The Texans did enough to win. The Raiders, they're still playing pretty hard. I mean, Geno Smith was back this week, and he actually didn't play too bad. Ashton Genty had a lot of big plays. I think he had well over 200 yards in total offense this game, because I saw a big play down the field.
128, nice game for him.
But all that being said, as much as I like what the Texans do, I think their downfall would be that I still do not trust where C.J. Stroud is playing at, the level he's playing at. He's still not playing at the level he was as a rookie. His second year was a little bit down. This year, I think, is similar to last year from the standpoint that, he was out with the concussion for a few weeks. He comes back, and he's playing okay. He's not playing great. So I'm still not in love with some of his decision-making at times. His ability to read things quickly, his ability to throw guys open at times when he needs to in clutch situations. Defensively is where the Texans hang their hat, because they are a phenomenal defensive team. And anytime you can hold a team to 21 points in the NFL, that's saying something, let alone holding them to 17 or holding them to 10. But if you can hold a team to 21 points, in the NFL, you should have a chance to win that game. And the fact that they scored 23 on a team that has 0 to play for,
right,
and probably a one-and-done coach in Pete Carroll, it is a little bit concerning where they are. So I'm sure they have a lot of work to do. But as much as I like C.J. Stroud, he's not where he was as a rookie. So that tells me that maybe the league has caught up to him, some things he does, and so we'll see where they go from here.
Well, CJ may not be impressing Joey all that much, Brian, but the chrome uniforms, it almost looks like watching a college game, like watching Louisville or something like that. I got to admit, I kind of like the they're not even throwbacks. They haven't been around long enough to have the throwback, but they sure look good. They may not play as good as they look, but the Texans with those chrome and all red jerseys were pretty cool.
The defense is playing as good as they look. I think obviously there is some issues with the CJ Stroud that I think it's just kind of what we were talking about with Trevor Lawrence earlier, the consistency, right? I need you to do it week in and week out. He's had some flashes. He had some very good games, but do it week in and week out. Texans look like a team they're going to be there in the playoffs. This was a game. Maybe they overlooked the Raiders a little bit coming into this. I think that might have been it. But they were still good enough to win. Obviously, you never want to overlook, and I think you got to check that. I think that might be on the leadership in your locker room and the coaching staff a little bit to say, hey, guys, we should be beating these guys by 2. We should be playing our backups halfway through the third and fourth quarter. But a win is a win in the league. The defense was good enough again. Janty showed you flashes of why he was a top 10 pick. He's going to be a stud once they get some guys up front that can actually block for him. So, some silver linings, no pun intended, for the Raiders is that a lot of their young guys kind of look pretty good, but they still got a long way to go if they want to compete with teams like the Texans going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, last game that we're going to look at from yesterday, the evening game, America's game. Patriots overcome an 11-point deficit. They win this one 28-24. Joey, they're tougher than I thought. After a loss last week, the Patriots, in my opinion, I don't know what they're going to do against the Bills, at home, and they lose. They go on the road and play a team that absolutely needed this win. And come from behind. They're a tough group, and Drake May throws for 380 yards. Are you kidding me? What a nice win. 15 points in the fourth quarter. Tell me what you like about the Patriots right now.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'm surprised at the level of play of Drake May, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I know he was interviewed after the show, and the guy asked him if he knew who Scotty Scheffler was. And he said, yeah, I'm a golfer. Yeah. And he has some of that same demeanor. I'm a big golfer, so I knew exactly where he was going with this. I mean, he is really calm and collected under pressure. You see you don't see any panic in his game where you do with some quarterbacks, where you do with a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, the pocket is closing in. He steps up. He releases the ball nicely, has a strong base up under him. He's not trying to arm throw. He's still throwing with his legs and his hips. He does a lot of good things. And the fact that they can still run the ball, and Stephon Diggs played as good a football game for his young quarterback as I've seen him play in a couple of years. I mean, and he's saying the right things. And so I was really impressed with the way that the Patriots were able to come back. On the flip side, obviously Lamar didn't finish the game because of injury. And I am completely befuddled in what's going on with the offensive coordinator. I don't think Derrick Henry had a carry in the fourth quarter.
No, he did not.
You bring him there, and he's already rushed for 128 yards. I mean, he fumbled early in the game, which got knocked out of his hand. But he is still the bell cow and doing a lot of things. And the fact that you aren't giving this guy the ball, and I think the comment by the head coach was, well, these guys in the rotation. Well, guess what? Guess who has the ability to overrule the rotation to put the bell cow in the game? The head coach. And when that didn't happen, hey, if they don't win this division, there's another guy that may be getting a pink slip when it's all said and done. Now that's almost unconscionable to think, given the success that Harbaugh's had here. But this has been a pretty disastrous season for a team that was favored to maybe represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. And injuries have played a big part of it. I mean,
if Harbaugh does get released, Joey, real quick, does he not have a job for more than 24 hours?
He's
got to go through the interview process first, right?
He won't be going through the interview. It'll be waiting on him when he's done.
Okay, I'm just asking. He won't be without gainful employment for very long.
Not at all.
Brian, your thoughts on this one? I'm just more and more I get impressed with the Patriots. I didn't think they had it in them, and they certainly do.
The Lamar Jackson injury obviously derails you if you're the Ravens, but Tyler Huntley played well enough to where they could have won. He completed 9 out of 10 passes, 65 yards. It wasn't bad. The idea, though, that Derrick Henry in crunch time, right, when you don't have your starting quarterback, when you need to give the ball to the guys who have been there, the guys you could trust, the guys at the forefront, and he doesn't touch the ball. It's just, I know the fumble, and I know that's, offensive coordinators and coaches get really weird with that kind of stuff, right? Turn the football over. It's the cardinal sin. You can't do it. But at the same time, he's your guy, right? You bring him in for these moments. In a game you have to win against a good team, against a team you're probably going to see in the playoffs if you play them. You had him on the ropes, and it just, I think it was a lot of other stuff, right? Obviously, they gave 15 points in the fourth quarter. Drake May went up and down the field, so that's a whole nother thing. If the defense makes a stop, we're not even having this conversation. But when they don't make stops and you don't have Derrick Henry on the field, it's just a culmination of all that. It snowballs. And I'll say this, Patriots are a good football team. They've been a good football team all year. They've won in a variety of different ways. They have shown that they can overcome, bad starts like they did against Buffalo a couple weeks ago. They did it again this week. They've kind of find their footing in the third and the fourth quarter. I guess, some people call that winning time, right? Is that's when you find out what you're made of in the third and fourth quarter, especially on the road. Baltimore, it was a must-win game for them. Tough place to go play. they get it done. Kudos to the Patriots, and they get to stay on top of the AFC.
Well, they're only rushing for 79 yards total. They didn't get any sacks against Lamar. They only had one against Tyler Huntley. But guess what? The most important thing for me in all the stats that were a part of this, Patriots are 7-0 on the road this year. They have not lost on the road. So congratulations to them. Another big win. They go to 12-3 and are in first place in the AFC East. Finally, let's just look at a summary of the game that took place earlier tonight when we started. We're going to talk about the 49ers winning by 21 points. 48-27 is the final. 49ers are, before this game took place, Joey, they were in the playoffs, right? They've already qualified. Brock Purdy throws for just shy of 300 yards. He has 5 touchdowns in this game. Christian McCaffrey has 117 yards on the ground on 21 carries. Greg Kittle has 115 yards. 49ers just seem to be clicking offensively. And again, 48 points on the road against the Colts team that absolutely had to win this game. It speaks a lot to how good San Francisco is when they need to be.
Absolutely. I mean, I think San Francisco are beginning to peak at the right time. Purdy's back. This is the second or third game he's back, and he's playing inspired football. He's playing pretty well. McCaffrey is on his way to becoming the first player to repeat as a 1,000, that number. He'll be in an elite club as a guy that received and ran for 1,000 yards in the same season twice. And I think Kittle's got hurt late in the game. It looked like he had a foot or something, so I'm not sure he returned. But he was having a really good game, and his production has increased since Purdy's been back. So I think San Francisco's on the right track here. And again, I'm concerned about the Colts. I'm not sure they'll win again this season, despite how well I think Phillip Rivers is playing for his age. I think he's got limitations. I think he can only throw the ball so far down the field. But if you blitz him, you better be right, because he knows exactly what to do. And especially in the first half, in that first half, especially the first quarter, it was like everything San Francisco tried to do, Phillip Rivers had to answer to it. And, I mean, he was pinpoint accurate. I mean, it's amazing to watch what a very smart quarterback can do to a defense and a defensive coordinator. So I have been impressed this game with Phillip Rivers. But if you know what he can do and what he can't do, if you can stop the run and force him to throw the ball and keep everything in front of you, and force him to try to go over the top, I think that's a winning formula right now for versus the Colts.
Yeah, Colts are struggling, Brian. They're now 8-7 after falling here with this one. They got a losing record, but they're plus 68 in their differential. They lost 5 in a row, and so it just shows how good they were in the first half of the season and how they were outscoring everybody, even though they lost by 21 points here in this one. Your thoughts here about the 49ers?
They're a good football team. They're under the radar, which I think is right where they want to be. Not a lot of people are looking at them in a position to where, they have all these injuries, and, the Rams are talk of the town, and Matthew Stafford's probably MVP, and the Seahawks are really good, and all this other stuff. But 49ers are pretty good. McCaffrey stayed healthy, and I think he's sort of the catalyst for this offense. When he is right and when he is healthy, they are very, very good. And it opens up the passing game. When Kittle's healthy, Purdy was spectacular. He was almost perfect tonight. He had the one interception, but Shanahan calls a good game. The defense is making stops. Phillip Rivers had a pretty good first quarter, pretty good first half. They kind of figured him out in the second half, like what Joey said. It's just kind of keep it, don't let him beat you. Make it, dare him to throw the ball down the field, right? And that's what they did. He's 44 years old. It's just there's only so much you can do. But, this Niners team is good. And if they keep winning, they got a couple big ones coming up, but they could very well sneak in and be the top seed in the NFC, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, guys, let's look at the standings real quick. In the AFC East, New England Patriots, they're already they've qualified for the playoffs. They're 12-3. Buffalo is 11-4. They have qualified, right? They're in, but we just don't know where they're going to be seated with 2 games to go. Pittsburgh and Baltimore, we don't know who's going to win that division, but whoever doesn't win it probably out pretty much right now. It just looks like the Steelers need one more win, and then they're going to win it. Baltimore is 7-8 after their loss this weekend. Jacksonville has clinched a playoff spot. They're 11-4 right now. The Texans are 10-5, so they're 1 game out, but they have not officially qualified because Indianapolis is 2 games back. They're 8-7. We just talked about the Colts. There is technically a chance with Houston loses their last 2 and Indianapolis wins their last 2, and there's a tiebreaker, it would go to the Colts. So everyone in Indianapolis holding their breath that they can hold on just for a little bit. Denver is going to win the West, it looks like. The Chargers are only a game behind. Both of them are qualified for the playoffs. Everybody else in the division is out. Any surprises there in the AFC, guys, before I continue?
No, I think the biggest surprise would be that, well, I mean, obviously, nobody expect Kansas City to be out, especially with the injuries. So I think first and foremost, that's the biggest surprise, what Denver's been able to do. But I think the Steelers are the second surprise because with the way they started, I don't think anybody saw this coming. And I think if they win one more, whoever they play this upcoming week, if they can win that game, then
they got the Browns. Yeah.
If they beat the Browns, then technically they can sit people versus Baltimore because they will clinch the division next week.
Yeah,
Baltimore can't catch them. So
right.
it'll be interesting the course of action they decide to take.
Yeah. And who knows? Anything from you, Brian, before I go off the NFC?
No, like what Joey said, the Chiefs, the team not there in the playoffs. The Chiefs are, the kind of the talk of the town right now as far as being on the other end. And then obviously the AFC North. I didn't really think Pittsburgh had it. I didn't think they were going to be in this position, but the Ravens are banged up. They defensively can't figure it out. Bengals, same thing. Obviously the Browns are young, but good for them. It looked like a good football team. They're looking like a good football team. If they stay healthy and they keep playing like you played in the last couple of weeks, you stop the run in January and February, you can win a lot of football games.
Yeah. Well, surprised me is Denver, Jacksonville, and obviously New England. Didn't think New England would be there, at least not now. So congratulations to all of them. And we've already apologized to Jacksonville and to Trevor Lawrence. I'm not going to do it too many times, but I'm just going to say, man, I didn't believe in what you were doing at halfway point of the year. And now I'm going, you were right. I was wrong. All right. The NFC East, Philadelphia has clinched. They're 10-5. Everybody else in the division is eliminated. Dallas, Washington, New York, for obvious reasons. The next closest team is Dallas with 6 wins. Chicago has clinched a playoff spot, although they haven't clinched the division at 8-4. The Packers are 9-5. Detroit hanging on in the slimmest. They've just got to win both games and hope a lot of things happen, but they're 8-7 right now. Carolina and Tampa. Carolina is ahead 8-7 is their record. 7-8 is Tampa. One of them is going to win the division, just like in the AFC North. And then finally, you've got the NFC West, where everybody except Arizona has qualified already. Seattle is in first place at 12-3. San Francisco and the Rams are at 11-4, and San Francisco wins the tiebreaker. I think they play each other later on in the second game. I'm not positive. Why don't I look? Tell you what, the Rams play. Their last 2 games are
Falcons this week
against Atlanta and the Cardinals. So forgive me for not knowing that schedule, but the Rams have a chance to win them both, and they probably should. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens. And they come here to Atlanta, and they play on Monday evening on ESPN. Any surprises for either you with the NFC, Joey?
Well, I think the biggest 2 surprises the fact that Chicago is where they are, with a chance to not only wrap up the division if they can win out, but have an opportunity to be the number 1 seed when it's all said and done.
Yeah. If Seattle falls, go ahead.
Yeah, and then secondly, I think you have to say Carolina. The Panthers are the other surprise. I don't think anybody figured that they would be in the hunt going into Week 16. And technically, if they went out, guess what? They'll wrap up. They'll win that division. And I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Brian, what was the odds? Was it 4 million to 1? For them to win the division after in Vegas? If we put $1 down, we probably wouldn't. We wouldn't need to do this. That's for sure.
Before the Atlanta game, probably pretty bad.
No, at the beginning of the season, what was the odds of Carolina winning the division?
I'd have to go back and look, but it wasn't good. I think your favorites were Tampa, and then I think Atlanta right behind them. But Carolina was in there. They are not a bad football team. No. Ted McMillan is fantastic. He's the number 1 receiver. He's been very, very good. A godsend for Bryce Young. But I think Bryce Young too. I think he was trying to do too much of the football. I think it's, hey, I can throw for 195 and a touchdown, and we can still win. The defense is good enough. We can run the ball well enough. And I think they've really adopted that mentality, and it's worked. They've beaten some good teams. They've lost to some bad ones, as everybody has. But they're here now, and I think realistically, the only game they still have to win on the schedule to qualify for the playoffs is the game against Tampa Bay. I think that's week 18.
Surprises for me are Washington.
Yeah.
From last year. Detroit has surprised me in a disappointing way. And San Francisco. I wasn't sure what they were going to do it, but Seattle is for real too. So a lot of great things to look for in the next 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about them as we progress here. 2 more weeks to go, folks. This has been the NFL wrap-up. We were talking about Week 16. Joey Clinkscales, former general manager, personnel director, scout. Brian LeBel, our NFL and NCAA analyst. I'm Harper LeBel saying thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it for you to be a part of the show. Tell your friends. We are grateful that you are a part of the network that we have here on 100 Yards of Football. But this is the end of the show. We appreciate it. Have a great rest